My sophomore year of college, I took organic chemistry. The lecture was held in this huge hall in the chemistry building, but above and below that were these narrow hallways leading to tons of smaller offices and labs. The place seemed like it hadn't been updated since it was built in the 70s. Anyway, I like to study up there sometimes because they had these tables with cushioned chairs, and it was dead quiet. At some point, I used the bathroom near where I studied and was surprised at how big it was. Especially when the hallway and rooms looked so cramped. The line of urinals extended to the end of the wall, and I couldn't see around the last part, but I didn't go exploring. At least, not that time. On maybe my third or fourth time back, I decided to walk to the end and see if there was anything else there. I'm not sure why I did it. Maybe the material from class was just denser, and I needed more of a break. As I walked down the row of urinals, my footsteps echoed off the chipped yellow tiles. The fluorescent lights hummed above me, flickering every few seconds, casting shadows that danced on the walls. I reached the end and turned the corner. There were a few extra stalls and a door labeled Janitor, its paint peeling like it hadn't been touched in decades. It wasn't much, but it struck me as odd. Why would a bathroom in a cramped academic building have so much extra space? A couple of days later, I was back studying late, cramming for the midterm. As usual, the upper floors were silent, save for the occasional creak of the old building settling. I headed to the bathroom again, and this time I decided to push further. Past the stalls in the janitor's closet, I noticed another turn I hadn't seen before. Around that corner was a shower area, 3 rusty shower heads jutting out of a mildewed wall. It honestly didn't make sense. This wasn't a dorm or a gym, it was a chemistry building. The air smelled damp and stale, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this place didn't belong. My curiosity got the better of me. The next time I was there, another late night study session, I brought my phone, half joking to myself that I'd document this weird bathroom. I passed the showers and kept going. At the far end, there was a door, slightly ajar, its hinges rusted. I hesitated, but then nudged it open with my foot. Beyond it was another section of the bathroom, but it felt off. The tiles here were a faded avocado green, the kind you'd see in old photos, and the fixtures looked ancient. There were more urinals and more stalls, all covered in a thick layer of dust. As I stepped inside, a faint whiff of smoke hit me. I glanced up and saw faint scorch marks streaking the ceiling. My pulse quickened, but I chalked it up to some old maintenance issue and kept going. There was another door at the end of this section, this one heavier, like it was meant to keep something in, or out. My hands were clammy as I gripped the handle. It creaked open, and what I saw on the other side stopped me cold. It wasn't a bathroom anymore. It was a room, a lab, or what was left of one. The walls were charred black, the floor strewn with shattered glass and twisted metal. An old desk lay overturned, its drawers spilling out singed papers. It looked like a fire had torn through here years ago and no one had bothered to clean it up. Cautiously I took a step inside, my sneakers crunching on debris, and that's when I saw it. In the corner, half buried under a collapsed shelf, was a skeleton. A human skeleton, like a real one, still draped in the tattered remains of a lab coat. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The skull tilted slightly, as if staring at me through empty sockets. A faded ID badge hung from the lab coat, but I couldn't make out the name or photo, just a blur of ink smudged by time. My mind raced. Who was this? How long had they been here? Before I could process it though, the temperature dropped, a chill wrapping around me like a wet blanket. I felt it then, a prickling on my neck, the unmistakable sensation of being watched. I spun around, but the doorway behind me was empty. Then I heard it, a faint whisper, like a breath against my ear, too soft to make out the words. That was it. I bolted, my heart slamming against my ribs. But as I ran back through the doors, something was wrong. The layout had changed. The green-tiled section was gone, replaced by a dim corridor lined with locked doors I didn't recognize. The lights flickered wildly, and my phone's flashlight barely cut through the gloom. I kept running and turning corners until I hit a dead end, a blank wall where the exit should have been. Panic clawed at me as I doubled back, my footsteps echoing louder now, almost like someone else's were overlapping mine. Finally, after what felt like hours but was probably minutes, I stumbled back into the main bathroom, the familiar row of urinals stretching out before me. I didn't stop until I was outside, gulping cold night air. Back in my dorm, I couldn't sleep. The image of that skeleton and those whispers wouldn't leave me. The next day, I hit the library, digging through old campus records. After an hour, I found it, a grainy article from 1978 about a fire in the chemistry building. A lab explosion, it said, caused by a failed experiment. One researcher went missing, presumed dead, but their body was never recovered. The university sealed off that wing and hushed it up, claiming it was under renovation. That bathroom must have been a forgotten access point to the ruins. I told a classmate about it later, expecting them to laugh it off. Instead, their face paled. "You mean the haunted bathroom?" they said. "Everyone knows to stay out of there after dark. People hear things, whispers and footsteps. Some even say it's cursed. I hadn't heard any rumors before, but now it all clicked. That's why no one else used it." Needless to say, I never went back, and even now I can't shake the feeling that something in that lab, something trapped in that endless maze of tiles and shadows, knew I was there. And part of me wonders if it's still waiting. I've never told anyone this before, mostly because I know it sounds crazy, and I don't want to get judged or have people think I'm weird. But here goes. Ever since I was 15, I've had this random recurring dream where I'm trapped in what I can only describe as a bathroom dimension. Like, it's this huge series of rooms with urinals, stalls, and sinks, and later on even showers and bathtubs. You could also think of it like a level of the backrooms, but when I started having this dream, I had no knowledge of the backrooms or liminal spaces, or anything else like that. The specific locations in the dream would alternate between larger, open rooms and narrow hallways with these doors with frosted glass windows. The whole place was dimly lit, and I got the sense it was underground somewhere. I'd always start off the dream in this one area, facing a urinal that was right next to a sink. I'd have to go to the bathroom, but I couldn't, because there was this girl who was chasing me. It was never clear what specifically would happen if she caught me, but there was this very real sense of foreboding. Usually the dream would start off with me walking down this row of urinals, and the girl would open the door into this part of the bathroom and start laughing. Then I'd take off running. Up to this point, maybe it sounds like a relatively normal nightmare, but what set it apart was how vivid everything was. The dream also went on for what seemed like 2 or 3 hours every time I had it. The first time it happened, I was confused more than scared. The tiles were this dull, off-white color, slick with condensation, and the air smelled like mildew and rust. I could hear water dripping somewhere, a slow, rhythmic plink, plink, plink that never stopped. The girl's laughter was high-pitched, almost playful, but it sent a shiver down my spine every time. I'd run through these endless rooms, past rows of stalls with doors hanging off their hinges, mirrors smudged with grime, and sinks that sometimes trickled with murky water. The deeper I went, the stranger it got. Bathtubs with claw feet, showers with cracked tiles, and even a room with a hot tub bubbling faintly under a single flickering bulb. Nothing about this made sense, but in the dream, I didn't question it, I just kept moving. The girl was always behind me, never too close, but never far enough away. I'd catch glimpses of her in the frosted glass of those hallway doors, long dark hair, pale skin, a blurry figure that moved too fast to focus on. Her laughter would echo, bouncing off the walls, sometimes sounding like it was coming from multiple directions at once. I'd try to hide, ducking into stalls or crouching behind a sink, but the pressure in my bladder would build, making it impossible to stay still for long. It was like the dream itself was taunting me, forcing me to keep running even though all I wanted was to stop and relieve myself. Over the years, the dream came back maybe once every few months. Each time, it felt more real. I could feel the cold metal of the stall doors under my fingers, the dampness of the air sticking to my skin. I started noticing little details, like how some of the tiles had faint scratches, almost like claw marks, or how the mirrors never showed my reflection, just a hazy blur. Once, I swore I saw words scrawled in the grime of a sink, "She sees you." My heart nearly stopped, but I told myself it was just my mind playing tricks. Still, the fear stuck with me, even when I woke up. I tried to figure out what it meant. I'd lie awake after, replaying every moment, wondering if it was stress or some buried memory. But I couldn't pin it down. It wasn't until I was 19, working a summer job at a hardware store, that something shifted. One night, after closing up, I used the employee bathroom in the basement. It was old and barely maintained, with flickering lights and a faint drip from a rusty pipe. I stood at the sink washing my hands when I froze. The layout, the urinal right next to the sink, the narrow hallway beyond, it was exactly like the starting point in my dream. I tried my best to laugh it off at first, blaming an overactive imagination, but then I heard it, a faint, high-pitched giggle from somewhere down that hallway. I bolted out of there so fast I nearly tripped over a mop bucket. After that, the dream only got worse. The girl wasn't just chasing me anymore, she was closer, her footsteps slapping against the wet tiles. I'd hear her voice sometimes, whispering things like, "You can't leave," or "It's almost time." The bathroom dimension stretched on forever now, rooms looping into each other, hallways twisting back on themselves. I'd find doors that led nowhere, just blank walls, or worse, rooms I'd already passed, like the place was rearranging itself to trap me. The dream usually ended the same way. As time went on, I'd have to use the bathroom more and more, and eventually I'd get to this one toilet and figure I was far enough away from the girl, but right as I began to relax, she'd appear in the doorway and corner me. Again, this was so vivid it was genuinely terrifying. She'd laugh and say something, and then I'd wake up. Strangely, I never felt the urge to use the restroom when I woke up, but I would be drenched in sweat. The last time I had the dream was a month ago. I'm 23 now, and I thought maybe I'd outgrown it. But that night, it was different. I reached that final toilet, my legs shaking from exhaustion, and she didn't show up. I stood there, waiting, the silence pressing in. Then the lights flickered out completely. In the dark, I heard her voice, closer than ever, right behind me. "You're home now." Something cold brushed my shoulder, and I woke up screaming. My roommate said I'd been thrashing for hours. Since then, I've avoided public restrooms where I can. I don't know what that place is or why it's haunted me for so long, but the other day I was scrolling online and saw a photo someone posted, an abandoned hospital basement, all tiled walls and rusted fixtures. It looked exactly like one of the rooms from my dream. The caption said it was demolished years ago, before I was even born. I honestly don't know what to make of it, but I can't shake the feeling that whatever's in that bathroom dimension isn't done with me yet. Back in college, I had to take an elective, so I took interior design literally because it was the only class that fit in this one time slot. To be clear, I knew essentially nothing about it, and was just hoping it would be really easy. The first day when I showed up, I realized there were only 6 students in the class, including this drop-dead gorgeous woman. I tried to make awkward small talk, and we ended up bonding over how we both took this class without knowing or caring about interior design. A few minutes later, the professor walked in, and though he looked like an average teacher on campus, we soon realized how bizarre he was. Everything from the way he spoke to his word choice to how he went into excruciating detail, even when going over the syllabus, told us he was going to go way overboard on the material. Luckily, the tests were super easy. Maybe this guy, whose name was Mr. Tarper, just didn't want to have to deal with flunking anyone. Anyway, instead of a final, Mr. Tarper actually had a legit field trip. I'm not joking, he really reserved a van from the university, and we all drove to several places. What places, you ask? Hardware stores, like Home Depot and Lowe's. But backing up a bit, the semester started off normal enough. I'd always sit next to the woman, whose name was Lauren, and we'd pass notes during Mr. Tarper's endless lectures, joking about how we'd rather be anywhere else. She had this infectious laugh that made even the dullest class bearable, and soon we were grabbing lunch together, then studying late at the library. I was falling for her, hard, and it seemed like she felt the same. Mr. Tarper, though, was a different story. He'd ramble on about the strangest things, lighting fixtures and color theory, but he had this weird fixation on bathrooms. During one class, he spent an hour dissecting the psychology of shower curtains, his eyes gleaming like he was sharing some profound secret. We'd roll our eyes, chalking it up to harmless eccentricity, at least, that's what we thought. The field trip was where it all went sideways. Mr. Tarper hyped it up for weeks, calling it an immersive experience. We figured it'd be a boring day of browsing tiles and paint swatches, maybe a chance to sneak off with Lauren and make it fun. The first few stops were standard, big chain stores where Mr. Tarper would point out sink designs with way too much enthusiasm. But as the day wore on, he got quieter and more focused, like he was building up to something. But the last stop wasn't a shiny Home Depot or anything, it was this old, crumbling hardware store miles outside of town. The windows were boarded up, the sign half erased, and the parking lot was overgrown with weeds. This place, he said, practically vibrating with excitement, holds a piece of history. He led us inside, past sagging shelves and a thick layer of dust, to a back room with a heavy steel door. The real lesson's down there, he said, pulling out a key. Beyond the door was a steep, concrete staircase descending in a shadow. Lauren squeezed my hand, whispering, "This feels off." I nodded, but we followed anyway, the 6 of us trailing Mr. Tarper into the basement. At the bottom was a bathroom, old and industrial, like something from a forgotten factory. The tiles were chipped, the sinks rusted, and a single flickering bulb hung from the ceiling. It smelled damp and sour, like standing water left too long. Mr. Tarper started his spiel, voice low and intense. This bathroom was built in 1947, designed for efficiency, but it's more than that. It's a study in permanence, unchanging and unyielding. He paced, gesturing at the fixtures like they were art. You can feel it, can't you? The weight of it? We all shifted uncomfortably. One guy, Mike, even laughed nervously, but then the door at the top of the stairs slammed shut. The sound echoed, sharp and final. We bolted up the steps, but the handle wouldn't turn. "What's going on?" Lauren yelled, banging on the metal. From below, Mr. Tarper's voice floated up. Don't worry, it's locked for your benefit. You need time to absorb this. Panic hit us fast. We shouted and pounded on the door, but it was useless. Back downstairs, Mr. Tarper just watched us, calm as ever. I've been observing you all semester, he said, your reactions and your fears. This is my experiment, how design shapes the human psyche. You'll stay here until I'm satisfied with the data. His smile was thin and unhinged. The bathroom will teach you. That's when the noises started, a low hum like pipes groaning, but it pulsed, almost alive. One of the girls, Tara, pointed at a sink. The drain was gurgling, water trickling up instead of down. That's not normal, she stammered. Mike checked his stall and froze. Inside, the toilet bowl was smeared with something dark red, streaking the porcelain. Is that blood? He choked out. Mr. Tarper chuckled. Imagination is a powerful tool. Let it guide you. Lauren and I stuck close, searching for any way out. The air grew heavy, the flickering light casting shadows that didn't match our movements. I swear I heard whispering, my name, faint and distorted, coming from the vents. Lauren grabbed my arm. Look, she hissed. In the mirror above the sinks, our reflection stared back, but mine blinked when I didn't. My heart began to slam against my ribs. We need to get out of here, I said, voice shaking. We tore through the bathroom, checking every corner. Behind a rusted cabinet, I found a grate in the wall, loose and wide enough to crawl through. Here, I called. The others hesitated. Mike muttered something about waiting it out, but Lauren was already helping me pry it off. We crawled into a tight, pitch-black duct, dust clogging my throat. Behind us, Mr. Tarper's voice echoed, "You can't escape the lesson." Then came the footsteps, fast and heavy. The duct sloped upward, and after a frantic scramble, we spilled out into a storage closet on the main floor, the others tumbling after us. The steel door was ahead, still locked, but a fire exit glowed red in the corner. We shoved it open, alarms blaring, and ran to the van. I fumbled with the keys, thank God Mr. Tarper had left them, and peeled out of there, tires kicking up gravel. We called the cops from campus, breathless and rambling. They searched the store the next day, but found nothing, including no basement bathroom, no Mr. Tarper, and just an empty shell of a building. The owner claimed it had been abandoned for years, with no access to any lower level. Our classmates backed us up though, but without proof, the police wrote it off as a stunt. Lauren and I and the rest of us knew the truth, however. We'd felt that place, and seen things that didn't add up. Incidentally, Lauren and I started dating after that, bonded by what we'd survived. But it left a mark. Sometimes, in our apartment bathroom, I'll catch a whiff of that sour dampness, or the faucet will drip when I know I turned it off. Lauren says she sees shadows in her mirror too, quick flashes, gone when she looks closer. We don't talk about it much, but I wonder if Mr. Tarper's experiment did something to us, if that bathroom's weight followed us out. Last week, I even found a tile in my shower cracked in half, the same pale green as the ones down there. I told myself it's nothing, just a coincidence. But when I'm alone, brushing my teeth, I avoid the mirror, just in case.